Hello, and welcome to Culture Conversations, the podcast where we explore the people side of work. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. For years, I've found myself deep in discussions about workplace engagement with industry experts. Now I get to share this wisdom with all leaders, new and experienced, on their journeys to build cultures that maximize potential. We spend so much of our lives at work. Let's make it a place where our teams can grow and succeed. Hello and welcome to the Culture Conversations podcast. I'm Megan Robinson, and I am so excited to have my good friend Mike Platt here with me today. We are going to have such a wonderful conversation about really enhancing and embracing your employee experience. For those of you that don't know Mike is a sought-after speaker both domestically and internationally. He specializes in accounting firm trends, innovation, leadership, benchmarking, and analysis. With close to 40 years of hands-on experience and interaction with firms of all sizes, it really gives Mike a unique perspective of what works and what doesn't inside professional services firms. And his interest in working with the accounting profession has been fueled by his desire to help professionals reach their potential. Mike is often known for saying, "My goal is to act as a catalyst to empower change, challenge individuals to think differently, and show others how, like them, have successfully overcome obstacles that are common in professional lives." We're going to have a lot of those great examples, a lot of great ways to, as we were joking beforehand, borrow with pride and really find those insights so that you can put it into action. Outside of his professional life, Mike continues to find ways to incorporate his love of history, family, geology, and travel into meaningful volunteer activities. Mike, you do it all. I feel like you've seen it all, but not quite yet. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. Obviously, the gray hairs are here for a reason to show all the experience that I've got over the years.
Very well earned, we'll say. Well earned. But when we were chatting and really wanting to noodle on what a powerful topic would be, we gravitated very quickly to enhancing the employee experience. And it was a really fun just conversation of how we got here and what we wanted to focus on for today. So I've been looking forward to it all week. And we really were talking about how much work has been put into the efforts inside professional service firms. I'll say other organizations. Everyone's talking a lot about culture, but client experience. And really, what does that look like from a client perspective? And what do you mean from enhancing that employee experience? And why is that so critical and that we're addressing?
Megan, I'm delighted to talk about this topic. I can tell you in my almost 40 years of working with public accounting firms, one of the things I've been just honored to be around is a profession where their product is their people. And the skill sets that their people bring, that's what their stock and trade is. On the accounting firm side, forever and ever and ever, they've been talking about their number one focus has always been their clients. And the clients are serviced by the partners and the staff, but clients have always had front and center in their thought processes. Over the last 5 to 7 years, as a number of things have happened with the employee demographics that are shifting, the generational expectations that are shifting, certainly all the changes that happened with COVID and where is work done, and all the conversations about culture, all the conversations that we all know from people like Simon Sinek, that I know you know, why are you doing what you're doing and what's the purpose? The focus is really shifting from just focusing on client experience to now let's focus on employee experience, because we have to hold them both up at the same level of time and attention from an owner perspective, to make sure not only that we deliver the product that we need to deliver, but we deliver a great career experience for our people. And in so many firms, that career experience is really taking front and center position right now, which I'm delighted to see it. So it covers culture, it covers how work is done, where work is done. It covers how quickly can you get from an entry level starting point to ownership if that's your goal. How quickly can you accelerate through your career advancement? What is the emotional Velcro that firms are using to hold their people in place? I would love to take credit for that phrase. I heard it from Don Ream from E3 Solutions, who does a lot of culture training. But the idea of emotional Velcro, what's going to hold people to your organization, and how do you define that in a way that makes it work? So all of those pieces, from the recruiting process to the onboarding process to re-recruiting employees for life, really, and making sure that they have both the career that they need, the skill sets that they desire, the enhancement, career enhancement opportunities that they need, and that they're happy, healthy, and with you their entire career. So all of those pieces is really what I think about when I think about enhancing the employee experience.
I love that shift in perspective. And there's such a individual from what does an individual need on their journey to how does the company and the individual really blend together. That emotional Velcro is my new favorite term, I think, which is so powerful in looking at it truly from a lifetime customer or what that customer journey is and making that same kind of map internally.
I think one of the things I just wanted to point out, I do think that a lot of people think that all of this is about satisfying the younger generation. I would strongly change your way of thinking about that. I think this is applicable to every single generation that is in the workforce today. The younger generation may be a little bit more vocal about what they want, but I promise you, every generation wants something very similar. So keeping that out of just a age-related activity, I think is really critical. So, but because of the fact that it is driven by the younger generation, let me ask you, Megan, just real quickly, off the top of your head, with all the different organizations that you work with, what are some of the common concerns that you hear about the state of younger workers' experience in the workplace? I work in the accounting profession. Give me your perspective just on the broader piece.
I love that you brought that up because I do think employee experience, everyone feels that it's, oh, the young whippersnappers or millennials or Generation X or whoever is I'll say young, hungry bucks out there, right? And so much is being driven. They have a different perspective. They have a different power right now. I will say there's a shift in the dynamics for it. But like you mentioned, this is something that every generation wants. Every generation that comes into the workforce is hungry and young and excited and enthusiastic. And the fact that we want to almost punish them or look down upon that, you're smiling because it's just like, why would we want to tamp that type of energy down?
Right.
Instead of being able to celebrate it and support it. So I always look at these aren't things that just one person needs. The skills for leadership, the skills for enhancing your employee experience, for engaging your team are the same things that you would do for older generations. You still want to have senior leaders, other people in the team know what your company's goals are, just as much as now the younger generations are asking some more of those questions.
Right. And I think the big difference is the older generation did what they were told to do. And the idea of purpose or why are we doing all of this, you didn't really think twice about it. It was nice to have it articulated in vision statements, but I think it needs to be much more visceral of a feeling today. And that's why people of my generation, I'm a baby boomer. You're not. I'm not going to ask your age, but clearly I got a couple of years on you on that. But a lot of people who are my age, they're all benefiting from a lot of the changes that are happening right now. And I just want to make sure that everybody's aware this is not just a younger generation imposing their will on an older generation. This is something across the board that everybody can really win with.
Well, and I think there was more of an assumption, or there was more transparency and you would be able to tell me more of what that looked like earlier, where people knew what to expect out of work. They knew what to expect from a career. They had a certain level of certainty or understanding, or the the classic gold watch, right? 40 years of service, here's your gold watch. Congratulations, fall off into retirement.
Right.
Which just that level of certainty isn't there. And so it has put more of that responsibility on organizations to create that. As they create what that employee experience looks like, it's that double-edged sword, right? It's exciting because you get to offer that, you get to be unique in that you have an opportunity to create talent, you have the opportunity to create more of that engagement from people that are aligned with it so that you have a stronger workforce, but it's also work.
Exactly.
So diving into that, the work side of how do we create this employee experience that is really attracting, that is charting those courses, that is giving them that emotional Velcro. What are some of the ideas or some of the things that you've seen work for professional service firms?
So I work a lot with the owners of the firms, which are the senior partners of these firms. So what I continue to tell them is at one point in their career, they were young and hungry and didn't know what the future looked like. And only with experience were they able to really get a much bigger vision of what they were doing, why they were doing it, how they were influencing the lives and making an impact on their clients. And the younger staff don't have that vision. So I always start with the idea of a glass elevator that you may have ridden on a resort property somewhere, the outside glass elevator. When you're on the ground floor and you're looking outside of a glass elevator, all you see is the bottom of the trees. You go up a level and now you start to see branches. You go up another level, now you start to see the canopy of the trees. You go up another level and you can see there's actually a city behind this forest that you're in. You go up another couple levels and you can see there's actually mountains behind the city, behind the forest that you're standing in right now. So the higher you go, the more broad your vision becomes. The owners of these firms are up on that top floor looking out in their glass elevator. They can see the ocean, they can see the mountains, they can see the city, they can see the treetops, and they can see the tree trunks. For the people who are at that entry level position, they just see the tree trunks. And so it's really critical that those in a leadership position continue over and over and over to tell everybody, here's what I see from the vantage point that I'm in. And here's why we're doing things on with culture, with purpose, with social media, with marketing, with being ambassadors in our community, with recruiting. Here's why we're doing things in technology and innovation and creating pathways to success, is to really connect those dots for the people who are just looking out that glass elevator and seeing the tree trunks, so that they can continually get the bigger picture of what's going on out there. So I like to start with that visual image in mind of what leaders need to do to enhance the experience. But down to a much more technical thing, change the dialogue of what clients are buying and what you are selling. So CPA firms sell tax returns, financial statements, cash flow statements, audits, and they're really, really good at it. But clients are buying peace of mind. They're buying the ability to walk into a bank and feel that they're worthy of getting a loan. They're looking for just the ability to get a good night's sleep, to know that the government's not coming after them, as an example. So part of the employee experience is to help them talk about the products that they're selling in a way that relates to clients on a much more guttural, visceral level. Talks about the emotional piece of that. Part of that is also recognizing that we all have clients that we love, and we all have clients that we would rather not work with. Um, and for the firm to recognize that to do their best work for their best clients, they have to get rid of that bottom 5%. Not only to free up capacity, but to free up some of the mental energy of the employees who have to put up with a lot of the negativity that some of those um, lower end clients offer up. So firms who are looking at culling that bottom 5% on a regular basis are doing really well. Another thing that we've learned in CPA firms is a lot of times the managing partner will call the team together and say, we just did something for client ABC, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. We did a really good job on that. And it's kind of a all hands on deck meeting. You get a big high five, and then you go back to your cubicles or wherever you're doing your work and getting back to work. One of the things that I think is much more powerful, again, that connects with the employees, is rather than having the managing partner bring everybody in and talk about what the firm did, bring the client in. Have the client tell the firm, here's what you guys did for me and my team. I was able to witness at a firm-wide retreat one time. The client came in, talked about the fact that he had never been able to take his family on a vacation of more than a long weekend because of all the complexities of running his business. And this firm helped him set up the processes so that he can feel comfortable going for 2 weeks to Europe. And he was telling the staff what it meant to have his wife and his 3 kids on a 2-week trip and what that meant to him personally. And it was because of what the team did to help him. So bring a client to work day is another really, really cool one that I see other firms doing. Things like the employee net promoter score. A lot of firms are doing that for client net promoter scores, but using it for employees to measure their connectivity, the emotional Velcro that they're feeling toward the firm. There's a lot of these kind of tactical exercises that will really help employees get connected. I could probably name 75 more of those, and maybe someday I'll put it all into a book and get it out. But those are just a couple of ideas of what are some of the professional services firms doing specifically to enhance employee experiences.
I love how you've mapped out employee experience of truly how their experience in working with the organization and that emotional connection, that emotional Velcro, but connecting that not just in what you're buying or how you're selling it or what your clients are doing from that transactional perspective, and being able to really have that mission vision that connects emotionally. Yes, it will work with your clients because you are solving those problems. You are creating such a stronger connection, but you're giving that why to your team. They're able, I'm going to even say the way that they operate and the way that they do business has a different direction when it has that flavor of it. Go
And I
ahead.
think also the whole idea of a mission and vision, that's been around forever and ever. And it's usually just something, carved in marble that's hanging up on a wall. And if you ask anybody in the firm, what's the mission, what's the vision of the firm, I can guarantee you most people wouldn't know what it is. It's something that Moses came down from the mountaintop with these commandments in his arm, and he put it up on the wall. That's our firm mission. My view is we want to create a organization where employees come to work with the attitude of a volunteer. So what do I mean by that? So in a public accounting profession, you have very highly educated, high-skilled employees being paid a lot of money, top of their game. They come to work and they give a solid days a week, 6 days a week during tax season to the firm. Then they go home on Sundays. They change clothes into work clothes. They go out to their local Habitat for Humanity build. And they're outside in the sun, sawing and hammering and cutting wood and doing manual labor that they're not used to doing for somebody they have no idea who their clients are, and they come home exhausted from that activity. They sit down on their couch, they pop a beer and say that was the best day of the week. How cool would it be if you could get everybody to come into your office, work on Monday all day long, go home Monday night, sit down in their sofa, pop a beer and say that was the best day of the week, and do that Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. And that is all part of this emotional Velcro vision. How do we make people feel that they're doing something worthwhile? How do we get them to come to work with the attitude of a volunteer?
I love attitude of a volunteer, and thinking of that was the best thing of the week. And the examples that you gave were so clear on how you're really making that connection. Not just here's what we're saying to sell new clients, but here's what we're doing. Like, because you can say it just like mission vision, right? This is what our tagline is going to be, or oh, this is how our sales team is doing it. But when you're able to connect those experiences and let them feel the impact of their work, that's what's that emotional piece for.
And it's easy to say and it's difficult to do. And I want to be perfectly clear about that. And there's a lot of hesitancy to deploy the time needed to create that vision and that guttural feeling out there. But I promise you, those firms who have done it far exceed their competitors. But it's not easy, but it is absolutely well worth it.
It's funny because I know I've had experiences, or I'll have people that or even clients in past life marketing clients. And when they say like, wow, this is the impact that this had on me, or being able to have the conversation and document it really quickly, like I could go on vacation for 2 weeks, or, hey, this is how you changed my life. This is what you showed me. This is like, I have so much peace of mind, whatever that response is, and forwarding it. As simple as forwarding some of those messages to the team, having the client say it themselves, having that quick recording of a client when you're on that phone call or on that Zoom call of, hey, tell me what you just said again. Like, let me share that with people so they know, they get excited. I know it always motivates me more, knowing the impact that I've had on someone.
Well, I think that's such a critical word that has so much more meaning today than it ever has been before. When you're measuring, if you're a leader of a company and you're looking at how do we measure things to know that we're on the right track, you're always looking internally, measuring efficiency numbers, productivity numbers. And I think it's critical as we go forward for firms to start looking at how do we measure the impact that we're making on clients, on our community, on the environment, on our staff, and on our owners. And what are those metrics that we need to focus on to know that staff are being advanced at the level that they want to be advanced? How happy are they? How engaged are they? Do they recommend us to their friends? Are they healthy? Do we care if they're healthy or not? And have we lost superstars along the way? My feeling is if you've got a superstar on your team, strap a rocket to their back, accelerate them through the program as quickly as you possibly can. Internal strife be damned, because they're the ones who are going to very quietly quit if they don't get what they need. And they're also the people who are not the squeaky wheels who are complaining. So don't ignore the people who are not causing problems. Don't ignore those people who are not problems, who are not the squeaky wheels, because those are the people who are going to get up and walk away without you knowing about it. Those are the superstars.
And especially, I'm sure, in accounting firms and being able to listen and knowing the behavioral styles or personality styles of your team is so critical. And I do a lot of disc training. So I'm thinking of like the styles of accountants are very different than the styles of lawyers. And
Right.
so being able to recognize that and as a leader, that's part of that responsibility. Um,
Well,
and
and as a leader, recognizing everybody is an individual. What you want out of your life and career is different from what I want, is different from what Harry wants, is different from what Mary wants. And it's going to take a lot of time, attention, repetition, and a lot of sincerity in questioning and listening to find out what's really important to you, Megan, so that I can help deliver that to really make your experience with my organization the best it can be. Whether you're with me for 40 years or 40 weeks, my job is to make you the best employee that you can be. And that's a critical mind shift, I think, for a lot of firms.
a lot of responsibility. So as we kind of wrap up here, do you have any kind of great places to start, or what would your advice be on really enhancing that employee experience to take some of those first key steps?
I would say really do an internal self-diagnostic of what are we measuring when we measure employees right now? Is it all that internal productivity? How efficient are we? Or are we measuring impact on the person, the well-being of the person? And if we're not doing that, what could or should we be measuring along the way there? Um, are we providing them a roadmap for how do we move forward within our company? It shouldn't be a secret or a mystery as to how to advance in your firm. And there ought to be some kind of a roadmap to say, here are the milestones you need to reach. Here's why the milestones are in place. You're not going to become CEO, 18 months after you start working here. And here's the reasons why maturity matters and all that other stuff. But give them a roadmap to success. Include staff in all levels of visioning for the future of the firm. Don't just make it the senior partners in the firm to talk about the future, because ultimately the younger staff is who's going to buy you out. And let's create the kind of organization that we want and that they want, and that we can collectively together move forward. Another thing to keep in mind also is the more you can share with staff, how's the firm doing financially? What are the economic opportunities if you stay here for the next 5 to 10 years from a career standpoint? We do a terrible job in the accounting profession or the law profession, most professional services firms, of identifying what are those economic opportunities if you stick it out. And I think a little bit more transparency on how is the firm doing, what can you do from a financial standpoint if you were to stay here, and re-recruit people all the time, not just in that honeymoon stage of the first 2 weeks after they come in the door and then they're out the door. Re-recruit them over and over and over and over again. It does require time. It does require attention. It does require repetition, but you need to be very sincere about it as well.
Oh, I love that. There is so many incredible leadership skills that it really takes as you're executing on these strategies, as you're building out that strategic plan, as you're really being intentional with that thought leadership and how you're going to build an employee experience that's going to be a lasting one, that's going to support the organization. And man, I heard some themes in there of collaboration, even that listening, that transparency. Love the idea of re-recruiting, but I'm even going to say a piece of vulnerability, of really being willing to give some trust and give some of that back to the employees. It can be really uncomfortable, but as you're saying, and I will heartily agree with you, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
And I think even on the vulnerability side, certainly COVID democratized everybody's setting as to where they are. So I could be talking to you and I'm sitting in my bedroom with my dog on my lap, and you're sitting in your kitchen with your cat running across the place there. It really humanizes the experience, because at the end of the day, we're all just humans trying to work with other humans, trying to do good for the world, trying to do good for ourselves, for our families, for our or the people that we work with. So the more we can kind of keep that in mind and make it so that everybody really gets an enhanced experience, I think everybody will win.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I could not have put it better myself, Mike. That was beautiful. I think that just summarized we're just humans working with other humans, doing the best that we can. Well, thank you so much for our conversation today. It was lightning, it was so actionable, and I hope everyone listening is getting a couple of nuggets that they can put into practice immediately, that they can start building out those strategies and some inspirational light bulbs that are going off to enhance that employee experience. If you are interested in getting in contact with Michael, please feel free to reach out. His contact information will be in the show notes. He is such a world of experience when it comes to professional services, and particularly that accounting and that finance industry, where you do incredible work with organizations and teams on building out these components of that employee experience, really developing that leadership and enhancing their culture in really meaningful ways.
Well, thanks, Megan. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mike, and we will chat again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Culture Conversations. I'm your host, Megan Robinson, founder of eLeader Experience, a professional leadership development company. Today, we shared actionable ideas to navigate the evolving workplace landscape, compete for talent, and build cultures that maximize potential. If you're looking to learn more about how to support your organization's leaders, you can learn more about our work at eleaderexperience.com. Now get out there and contribute positively to your organization's culture with your own conversations.